taking days off from the gym is absolutely essential. Hey everybody, I thought I would chat with you guys and gals about this today. So you see people all the time, and I have even been guilty of this. So when I make this statement, I do not want to sound like I am some guru who is all knowing and makes no mistakes and is the wise one. This is something I have done sometimes. I train 7 days a week for a little while. You guys have seen me do it on camera and document it. Of course, I was taking deload weeks due to a long distance relationship and traveling at the time. But outside of those deloads, I think I ran like a 6-month period on camera where I was lifting 7 days a week. Okay, and it took a toll. This is where almost all the injuries and problems that I've accrued, over 40 have occurred was in that window. All right, you guys remember that? People are like, how come you have less shoulder mobility? How did you said you got hurt doing pull-ups? And it was all overuse from that time period. Okay, it's all overuse. It wasn't from the heavy lifting. It wasn't even from doing moderately high volume. It wasn't from the high intensity. It was simply not taking off days. Like when I did that experiment where, I'm going to do 100 chin-ups every single day. What? Did that for a month. I've never had great shoulder mobility since. Since then, everyone's always like, you can't lock your arms out over your head. All these things. It's my shoulders. Right? And it doesn't hurt. I don't have any pain, but I guess enough, scar tissue somehow accumulated from the impingement and everything that I got during that time. That, and just the overuse then, that I've never got that mobility restored. Okay? That training period of time, because of that's one of the worst mistakes I've ever made. And the only thing that truly got ridiculously strong, I think, was my deadlift. That was the first time I deadlifted over 600 on camera, was in that window. And then I started getting weaker. Right? And you guys remember I started getting weaker. I think my best lifts at that time, I ended up close gripping like 352, which I got stronger later doing less. And I hit that 615 deadlift one time, and then I fell back under 600 again for a bit. That's been my own experience. All it did was lead to higher injuries, burnout, and even again, the injuries have accumulated to the point where I've never fully regained my full shoulder mobility, even though I'm not hurt anymore. I don't have any pain. Right? It resulted in shoulder problems for quite a period of time. I am bigger now. Since that time period, the biggest lifts you guys have all seen me do were while training 4 days a week. Training 4 days a week. I've hit way bigger lifts. And I'm bigger, and I'm leaner even than during that time period. I'm bigger and leaner. It is not necessary to train like that. But people get hung up in that mindset that, hey, if 3 days is good, 4 days is good, 5 days is better, and 7 must be amazing. All right, here's the issue. Number one, you don't even have time for your tendons and stuff to heal. Okay? It's not just about muscle recovery. Everyone's like, oh, muscle recovery. It's like when people say, well, I want to do curls every day. All right. Don't cry when you rupture a bicep tendon. Because it's not about the muscles recovering. That's on the gain side. When we talk about other stuff with injuries, it's because you're causing all this inflammation that's not healing. Causing all this inflammation that isn't healing. We get overuse injuries. Not a matter of being tough. Like, there's no such thing as overtraining. Really? It's been seen in the lab. Sports physicians have learned to diagnose it. I started getting overtraining symptoms while doing that. Okay? I started getting the symptoms to where I was getting the back cramps while at night sleeping. All these other problems. Stress went way up. Insomnia started kicking in. And for me to even train that much, I had to build my whole life around it. had no room for other physical activities. I had to keep my calories well over 4,000 a day, had to sleep 10 hours a night. And I was less jacked than I am now. And I consider what I do now to be really high frequency, 5 days a week, and I take the weekends off. I do no resistance training at all on the weekends, just maybe a little light cardio. No resistance work. I don't even pick up anything heavy. Don't ask me to move your furniture on the weekend, and it works better. But that is a big part of it, is the injuries that accumulate. Okay? All right, if we're going to talk about gains, other than in those certain circles in the research, even researchers don't find muscle growth beyond at most 20 sets a week. Some researchers don't find growth beyond about 10 to 12 sets per week for a muscle. Well, how many days a week do you need to train to get there? I mean, look at it this way. Let's say 12. I mean, even 10. Has a single study ever been done where 10 hard sets per week in a muscle group failed to cause muscle growth in any group? Hard sets, like sets close to failure or to failure. Never. It never happened in a study. They all gain muscle. As long as calories and protein were sufficient, and they tend to be in these studies, everyone gains muscle, including advanced lifters. Everybody on that sort of volume. Well, let's say you're going for 10 to 12 sets. How many days a week do you really need to train? I mean, really, to get to that, I space it out to keep the workouts a little shorter to give each muscle fresh time, so I'm doing a 5-day body part split, right? 5 days, and because one of those days is just my shoulders. It's almost not a true workout compared to the other days, right? I mean, really, if you're doing 10 to 12 sets, which is really, if you really go off most of the evidence, that's kind of a sweet spot it would appear to be for muscle growth. Unless you're trying to isolate every single muscle and do no compound movements, I mean, how do you even turn that into a 7-day-a-week workout? Do you have some 30-minute workouts in there? Most people could reach those numbers doing an hour 4 days a week, most 5 days. Absolutely hit those optimal volume thresholds. You're probably not gaining any muscle beyond that. All you're doing is potential burnout, potential overtraining, gaining no extra muscle, higher rates of injury, inflammation. All right, take your days off from the gym. Your body will thank you. Remember, we don't grow when we're in the gym. We grow when we're rested. All right, guys, well, that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I'll talk to you guys and gals next time.